Larry and Greg podcast, Sports Talk Radio. This is January 17th, 2013 at 8 o'clock and 19 seconds.
Hello again and welcome. Thank you for joining the War Room. My God, it's been a week since we talked to you last. Excited to be back. A week's almost too much time, Greg. So much stuff going on. Tons and tons. Up until Tuesday, we had a lot going on. And you know what? We talked a lot this week about different things. We had the Belcher incident in Kansas City. Lots of information came out about that. We're going to talk a little on that tonight. Lance Armstrong going on Oprah. On a sad note, Stuart Scott, we all know him from ESPN, fighting cancer for the third time. If y'all watch him on ESPN, y'all have seen his face a bunch, so say a prayer for him. D'Antoni, what he's asking Kobe to do. Tons of coach changes going on Ridiculous. In the NFL. Good and bad changes. I mean, hockey starting Saturday. Oh, yeah, by the way, we have two big conference championship football games that haven't even hardly been talked about this week. Everything, Greg, completely and totally overshadowed by this incident at Notre Dame with Manti. I mean, it's all that's on the news right now. It's overseen. It's even taking the place of all the Tim Tebow talk, which is constant. Where's he going? Is he getting released? I mean, we don't even hear the last 2 days anything about him. This Teo thing has been all that's on the news. It's on regular news, sports news, everything. I mean, it's huge. Deadspin.com broke the story, which I think is going to be Teo's downfall, having somebody like that break the story instead of an ESPN or somebody like that, a sports station or network. But, I mean, it completely overshadowed everything that's going on.
Here's the problem. There's only two possible outcomes to this story. Either one, he is the most gullible person in the world and probably has some issues that he needs to deal with, or he put on one of the biggest hoaxes while attending one of the biggest universities. For those of you who don't know, essentially Manti Teo had a relationship with a girl that he met online.
3 years.
For 3 years. He never met her, although he said he did. She never met his family.
Went to Hawaii for Christmas.
Although they say he did. Because this was perpetrated by someone else, they say a friend of his, which doesn't really make sense, as a hoax. On top of that, the unbelievable parts are, one, supposedly she died right after his grandmother did. He didn't go see her. She got into a car accident. He didn't go see her. He didn't go see her on the holidays. He didn't go see her on spring break.
How about the fact that the
funeral he didn't go to, but this was the love of his life. We know the guy has compassion. So, I mean, you watch him on the football field. The guy flies around. He's always touchy-feely with his teammates. And something just doesn't smell right now. And what's even more hard for me to believe is this guy is 22. He grew up in this age.
Yep.
It's one thing if we're talking about 2003 and the backup kicker for D3 school. This is 2013, and you're going to tell me that this guy is going to be so gullible. If we believe him, which he said it was just a hoax.
With that in mind, first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to agree with my good friend, outstanding journalist Stephen A. Smith. One thing I'm not going to do is sit here and bash a 22-year-old kid, a graduate from University of Notre Dame, had a great football career there. Until some kind of proof comes out, I am not going to bash him or his name, family, or anything. But there's so.
But can you believe it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. When you're researching and looking into things, and you're listening to stuff, and the more this story goes on, Greg, the more stuff comes up. We're talking about leukemia and in bed and dying. Made comments about 6 and 8 hours a night. They put the phone, she'd have the phone by her ear because she wanted to listen to him breathe, or he wanted to listen to her breathe, or whatever. Here's the thing. If she was in a coma, she couldn't put the phone by her ear. Somebody had to do it. Somebody come tell us something. 2, if there was 6 and 8 hours, first of all, if he was going to Notre Dame, trying to graduate and playing football, getting ready for national title and everything else, I don't know if he had 6 to 8 hours to just lay on the phone and breathe. But phone records. Bring up phone records. Show us that you did this. Show us that this went on. I mean, none of this is illegal. Nobody made any profit unless.
But if you don't want to bash him, then why are you putting him under that type of scrutiny? Because why? He's not believable. Because you can't trust his word.
Well, why was this come out on the 22nd when the story, or 26th of December when the story broke, and we're just hearing about it now? Why was it swept under the rug till the national title game was over?
Because they did. Because it's big money. They do that. Same reason why they gave.
Then I go back to this.
Same reason why they gave Ohio State the opportunity to play in that bowl after those players got suspended. Well, they let them play in that bowl because they brought in money.
Well, I'm going to tell you all in the sports world right now, and you can get ready for it. You know it as well as I do. I don't have to tell you. We deal with the Tebow thing each and every day. It doesn't go away. That's all we hear about. Now, and we're going to get into Armstrong later, it's going to be the same thing with him, and it's going to be the same thing with this Te'o. Now, one thing that he's lucky about, if this comes back and bites him and we find out he's been lying, that's a different story. But none of this is going to hurt his draft pick. None of it's going to teams. You know what NFL teams are going to do? NFL teams are so messed up in the way they do things. All they're going to do is, as long as he don't have some broken bones, some injuries, as long as he can run his 40 in a good time, as long as he can do all that, they don't care what's going on in his personal life. They'll draft him and go, oh, we can fix this kid. We can adjust him. We can mold him. We can do whatever. I mean, look at your boy Tom Brady.
He is going to get scrutinized when he sits down with teams. They are all going to ask him
what's going on in your life. Right. But here's what these teams, if they've been paying attention to Tebow,
if it's a hoax or if he's the most gullible guy in the world, how can he go into an NFL locker room, testosterone high, with the backstory of a fake girlfriend?
Well, you know as well as I do, draft status, it ain't going to hurt him.
And be a leader of men.
But here's the thing, as an owner, you better think about in the NFL. The media is going to follow him. Until this is put to rest, if it ever gets put to rest, the media is going to follow him.
What more has to be done, in your opinion, for it to get put to rest?
We need the truth somewhere.
What I'm saying,
something is not right here. There's no proof. I mean, we can't even go see the girl that faked this. Where is she? She gained nothing from it. You think somebody would?
Te'o's the one, and here's the.
He created this thing.
Here's the publicity angle.
So there was no woman. So there was no phone records. So then he's a nutcase, and he goes to the NFL. He's going to be.
Here's the publicity angle that I've heard brought up today, where at first I didn't really believe it, but now I'm sort of thinking about it because the parents were in on it. The girl didn't exist, and they said that she came.
Yeah, what's all that about?
And that's the part that's a little creepy. That I'm like, you know what? Not that the kid needed it or anything like that, but something, I don't know.
Nothing's adding up, Greg. It's a big mess, and if this kid couldn't have conjured all this up because there's too many people that know stuff. All right, now we got his friend. We got everybody involved. The more we talk about this in the media, the more it gets talked about, the more stuff comes up, the more it makes him look like. And you know what? Now it's starting to lean towards Notre Dame a little bit. They better not be involved in this. If the NCAA or anybody else finds out they're involved, which I don't think they are.
Involved with what? Look, there's no
because Te'o is a publicity. He strives.
He's an unpaid college student.
He strives on people just being around him and
he's the one that gave the interviews and said it.
Right. What I'm saying is, and I don't believe Notre Dame is, simply due to the fact that they hired the investigators to do this. So they're not going to hire people if they know they're involved. They're going to try and keep it quiet. Something just isn't right. Now, on the other hand, if he was part of a hoax, then for 3 years, Greg, 3 years, he doesn't even want to see the woman, whatever. Is he smart enough to play middle linebacker in the NFL? I'm not being mean. I'm asking you, no, smart wasn't the right word. Is he stable enough? I don't, look, a locker room is high testosterone. For people that have been in locker rooms, you know what it's like. There's a lot of machoism, and you can't roll up in there with a fake girlfriend that you never saw. Oh, my God.
And you know what? It's almost better if he lied about it than it will be if he goes into a locker room with a fake girlfriend that he never saw and got hoodwinked on it when these guys are, let's just say, living the good life.
I get to the point, I don't even want to talk about it anymore, but we're going to end up having to a lot because it's going to live in the media for a long time. Folks, that's about in a nutshell what's going on with this right now if you haven't heard. If you have heard and you've been following it like us, you're probably as sick of it already as we are. But that's the Te'o story. Moving on real quick, we got the Belcher incident in Kansas City. We all remember that. We gained a little information on it this week. The guy from the Kansas City Chiefs that shot his girlfriend, mother of his daughter, 9 times, drove to the parking lot of the facility, called the coach and the GM out, shot himself. Little new information came out this week, just to say in the report that he was at another woman's house. His girlfriend and him were having problems. He was messing around with another woman. He was in her driveway. The cops found him. They did a breathalyzer on him. They knew who he was. Whether that had anything to do with leaving him there or not, he went and spent the night in the neighbor's house. Got up to go to his meeting the next morning. Did the cops make the right decision or not? If they would have took him to jail, would she still be alive today? Would this have happened 2-3 days later? Who's to say who was right or wrong? But that's all the information we have on it right now. There was nothing come out about his brain and trauma and everything else. So this, that's all we know on this right now, Greg.
I don't really want to give this subject too much more attention because I think it was a despicable act. But, yeah, some new stuff came out. But, that it's still a sad tragedy, and everybody still needs to think about the little girl that was left behind.
Absolutely. We brought up when we started the show, folks, Stuart Scott. You all know him from ESPN. Great analyst. Been there a long time. Fun to listen to. Full of knowledge. He's battled cancer twice in his life. He's beaten it. He's battling it again for the 3rd time. Terrible thing to go through. 1 time, let alone 3. So all we're going to do is ask you just keep him in your prayers, and let's hope the best for him. So Stuart, if you can hear us, we're really rooting for you, buddy. Moving on, Greg. A lot of coach changes going on in the NFL. A lot of coordinators moving around. A lot of coordinators picking up head coaching jobs. Some of them look to be pretty promising. Some of these coaching hires look terrible. I mean, I'll throw the first one at you, the Bears. How bad is that hire? Mark Trestman. From Montreal, he was a coordinator here in the NFL for a little while, but he went to be the head coach at Montreal. You're bringing this guy in to replace a Lovie Smith?
He's supposed to be some type of offensive wizard, and I don't know how much I really believe in that. He's had some success in the NFL, but he probably just couldn't get his opportunity and found a better one in Canada. But now coming back, he's with the Bears. The problem that if you really look at all the coaches that are actually being courted right now, it's really offensive-minded coaches. Everyone's now seeing in the league where it's pass and all the rules are benefiting the offense. You got to score 32, 35 points. You got to be a Tom Brady. You got to be Aaron Rodgers type led offense. For the simple fact, if you don't do it, the defense is not going to be. I mean, the rules are not being set for the defense.
No.
So a Lovie Smith not getting an opportunity the rest of this year, that sort of makes sense because he's a defensive-minded coach. And, I think a lot of it has to lay on Mike Tice, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be gone. But, yeah, Trestman, it's outside the box thinking. And it's something a little different. Would you rather have a CFL guy who's had some NFL experience, or would you rather have a college coach just coming out, who put together some type of spread offense before?
I didn't think from the start it was a good hire as a head coach. Reason being is you got Lovie Smith, who's hitting 9 and 10 win seasons every year. He's been there. Maybe the only reason Chicago did it was that breath of fresh air, that new start, whatever, by getting rid of Lovie. But here's what I thought when they announced this. Why didn't you hire him as your offensive coordinator? Leave Lovie in place, who's a great coach, an established coach, and he's doing well with the team, very well. Why don't you leave him in place and bring Trestman in as your offensive coordinator if he's such an offensive genius? And then go from there. And then if things aren't working out and you see you might have to let Lovie go to next year, well, do it. But you already got Trestman in place.
3 playoff appearances in the last 9 years.
I understand. But the Chicago Bears...
A point that you made a couple of weeks ago.
I just didn't think firing a Lovie Smith and going and getting a guy from Montreal was... I'm going to say it, and you're going to hear me say it next year when I'm right. I didn't think that was a good call. Not as the head coach.
How many wins do they win next year?
They got a good team. Even with a coach not as good as Lovie Smith, they can pull off 8 wins.
Yeah.
It's the division they're in.
I know.
That's what makes it hard. And they're in the NFC. Remember that. You got to win some games to get a wild card in the NFC. You really do. But anyways, to Trestman, good luck to you and the Bears. Big one come up this week. We talked about it last week. We announced it. He's not leaving Oregon. Chip Kelly said it. Went and interviewed with Philly. Went back to Oregon. Said, I'm not coming out. I'm staying here. Here we are, Greg, a week later. Guy has 46-7 in 4 years with Oregon, and he announces in the press conference today, I'm going to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what college coaches do.
I think it's a good hire. That one I think is a good hire.
I think the only thing that makes it a good hire is the personnel that they have.
He needs a quarterback.
I think he has a quarterback.
He likes Foles. He likes Nick Foles. He played against him in college. But I don't think his running gun quarterback, and that's what he does, is going to be Mike Vick. Mike Vick won't make it through week 3.
I don't know. Foles will?
I don't know. We haven't seen enough of Foles to make an opinion.
They go get a new quarterback?
Yes.
Now, do we know how much power he has?
No, not yet.
My guess is limited. And so, is he going to be able to get the personnel that he needs? I mean, you have Macklin. You have, some of the other fast speed players that, was dubbed the dream team. But, is his system going to work? Are they going to respond to him? It's not just X's and O's. Yep. You're talking to players that get paid much more than you, and they don't need you. And they can get you fired because if they're good at their job, they're not going anywhere.
No, and they all make more money than you do. That's the bottom line.
I think McCoy will be happy.
Oh yeah, because he'll get a lot more touches.
He'll get more touches. He'll get the difference between what Jamal Charles is going to get this year and what he's going to get next year. Because Andy Reid doesn't believe in giving the running back the ball, and McCoy, I mean, the boy can carry the ball.
I don't think there's anything this year really coming out of college, Greg, in the draft that's going to fit Chip Kelly's quarterback program. I don't know who in the league right now, without sitting down and going through some names, is going to fit it. I just don't believe Michael Vick will be it because Michael Vick won't last.
When I see his offense, I see like 3 running backs in the backfield, and one of them could throw. And they're all fast as hell, and that's not going to work in the NFL. I mean, he's going to switch his whole thing.
Yeah,
I get the speed, I get the tempo. Belichick went down and scouted
60 plays a game.
Yep.
He's a Belichick-minded coach. They think the same. I want my offense on the field, and we're going to run as many plays as we can in a game, which goes back to you earlier saying hiring all these offensive coordinators in the league. It's an offensive-minded league right now. But with that in mind, look what the Chargers did, and Jacksonville, for that matter. Went and got defensive coordinators. Chargers got Mike McCoy from Denver, their coordinator, and Gus Bradley to the Jags, who came from Seattle. He was their defensive coordinator. So, I mean, with that in mind, them two teams pick up a defensive coordinator for a head coach.
And when was the last time either one of those teams sniffed the Super Bowl?
Seattle the teams are gone too. Jacksonville, what they have?
Right.
2-3 wins this year. And the Chargers, what were they, 6-7 years ago? They were knocking on the door. 5 years ago, I mean, they've kind of fallen off, and they've ascended and then planed and then nosedived. I think they had the same thing that Philadelphia had with Norv Turner and Andy Reid, coach in place for a long, long time, and maybe got a little stagnant.
No, I don't believe that. They've had too much talent. They've been on the offensive end. They've been so talented, and they have screwed it up from an organizational standpoint every single year. Now they're going to say, okay, well, let's go defense because the offense didn't work.
Who's fired next year if this don't work?
I don't know. I'm just saying they'll probably give him 3 years, to get his own, whatever he wants in place. But I'm just saying, man, the 2 ones that did get the defensive ones are the ones that are probably the longest shot to win the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And
they're going against the league trend right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, also, look at Wisenhunt. Might become the OC at Cleveland. Or, excuse me, at the Chargers. You're going to have Wisenhunt over there.
Do you trust him?
He had a little run with Arizona, and I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, he had a quarterback. And now he doesn't.
Well, he's going to have Breeze. not Breeze, excuse me.
Rivers.
Rivers, I'm sorry. With that in mind, he's going to go over there and join Mike McCoy, who's a defensive-minded head coach. He come from Denver, and they did very well the last couple of years on defense with him. And now you're going to put Wisenhunt as the OC. That might not be a bad combination, but here's one we talked about last week, and we were sure he was. We talked about we actually had an argument about him going to Dallas when he's not going to Dallas. Norv Turner is going to go be the OC at Cleveland,
which is a very, now think about this. Joe Banner, the guy that was over in Philly, he's the executive. He's either the CEO or EVP, where he basically makes all the decisions. It's him and Haslam, and he's gone against him being in Philly. And so it's interesting that now he has him over in Cleveland, because I think that's going to be, that's really going to be a good move for them.
Yep. But to finish up on our couple news topics, folks, thank you for listening to this. We got a few more to go. I announced earlier in the show hockey starts this Saturday. 2012-2013 season starts Saturday, 48-game season. We're going to open up Saturday with the New York Rangers going to the Boston Bruins. I believe it's a 7 o'clock game. And the 3 o'clock game is the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers. Two great games that if you'd sit down and watch. I know the hockey fans are all going to watch it. So it's going to be this 48-game season. We remember from the last lockout, it's going to be a shoot to the finish. They're going to be running and gunning for the playoffs. No time to rest, and injuries will hurt you.
One thing I do like about this, I actually think aside from the grueling schedule with the NBA when they had a shorter season, I think it actually helped. Yeah. I think the NBA is becoming one of those it is one of the leagues where people kind of coast, get their wins until it's playoff time, and they can choose when to actually put forth a lot of effort. With a compressed season,
you're going to see them going.
That everybody had to go full tilt all the time,
no
matter what you were. And I think you're going to see the same thing with the NHL, where it's going to drum up a lot of interest, because let's be honest, it starts the same time basketball does, and basketball doesn't even really announce itself until Christmas.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of games that no one really pays attention to other than the hardcore hockey fan. But now, with this compressed season, I think you're going to see a lot of people, especially at the NHL, and they do this like every 10 years. But this year, if they're smart and they sort of give away some of the games on their center ice package, I think that's going to do a lot for the league, because they need to do a lot of repair work. And I need to find out, or I'd like to know a little bit more about their actual TV contracts and how that's even working. I know NBC just started their own full-time sports network. CBS, did the same. So you might really see those games on there a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you got everybody. The people that really look happy right now. You got your hockey night in Canada. You got Hockey Town and Detroit. Boston, New York. Everybody's fired up. Everybody's excited. They're excited down here in Florida. The Panthers are looking good this year. The Lightning always come alive. So there's a lot going on, folks. Saturday the 19th of January, hockey gets started. Big news in the NBA this week, I thought was the biggest news. D'Antoni coming out and asking Kobe to do more, Greg. He wants him to guard the best player. Play defense. I'm going to put you on the best player they got on their team. And I need you to score all the points you score every game. Is this a good move? I know why he's doing it. He has to do it. You got Gasol coming back now, or he's back today. Look at Howard. Howard had a big game. He stepped up. Nash is playing well. Does Kobe really got to do this?
If they can do that consistently, then no, he doesn't. But the fact is they're inconsistent. And don't get me wrong. Kobe, I think Kobe has his biggest problems defensively when he's asked to help.
Why are they picked? I think they're picked to beat the Heat tonight. Want to explain that to me?
I have no idea.
That's something odd there.
I have no idea. But with him being able, when he's an off-ball defender and he's helping out on the best player, he's not as effective as when he's on that player. He shut Irving down. He shut the dude from Milwaukee down. And he's gonna have a problem when he goes against New York. When he goes against LeBron. Is he going to guard the best player then?
Miami, yeah, absolutely. No,
and if he's going to do that in and out, and I'll tell you what, I see Kobe, looking at his gas tank, he's just a little bit below a third of a tank left, And I think you want to be smart and, coast around about 55, 60. They're trying to crank it up to 80. And, he only has so much left. 17 years in the league, over 50,000 minutes.
And if that tank's dry at the end and you got to make a run, you need some wins. You're talking
about, and don't get me wrong, he doesn't mind a challenge. He'll take the challenge. But what happens?
He's proven that.
But what's going to happen, in April, May, and June? Because that's when he needs to be. And, and everyone says, oh, he needs to lead, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. He requested this assignment.
Yes, he did.
That's and then Tony said, well, okay, let's give it a shot. And he shut everyone down. He is a tenacious, on-the-ball defender, and nobody wants that coming at you.
But back to what you said, how long can he do it, Greg? Well, and when you don't have Kobe, right now at the state the Lakers are in, if you don't have Kobe,
when he got in that trouble in Colorado, and he was flying back and forth to whatever game it was, and court appearances and everything like that, and he started dropping 40 every night. Yeah, I said the same thing. How long could he do it? As long as he wanted to.
Yeah, obviously, look what he's done. One last news topic tonight. We got to get into it, Greg. We got to talk about it. I don't care about it. It's cycling. Who watches?
It's a bike race.
Yeah, Lance Armstrong lied forever. Lied to one of his good friends that writes about him and follows him for what, 12 or 14 years?
Yeah.
Lied to his face and then sent him a simple 2-word "I'm sorry" frickin' email.
Well, he was.
Does anybody care? And will anybody? Here's my question. Let me rephrase this. Anybody care? Will anybody remember in a year?
Yeah, because it'll. Huh?
Who? Because ESPN will have it on once in a while, and there'll be some news on it.
Just like T.O. was in a position where he was getting heat all the time. Michael Vick came with the dog story, and T.O. was off the front page. Lance Armstrong, this hit, he's doing Oprah tonight. Then Manti Te'o comes out. You don't hear anything about Lance Armstrong.
No.
This will cycle down, no pun intended. But just to talk about the cycling. This one's kind of funny to me for a couple reasons. One, he lied to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, absolutely everybody. Sponsors. United States Postal Service gave him over $30 million. He destroyed people's lives that even dared to say, hey, you know what? We know what you did. The defamation suit that he won in London for $7.5 million. But $500 million, cancer, and again, it's a bike race. And, if you're on the inside from the cancer side and that's how you see Lance Armstrong, I don't think you care because that's dire straits. And whether you cheated in a bike race or not, when you have helped people like he has, and I'm not giving him a pass. I'm just saying I don't really care about the cycling. I care more about the people he tried to destroy. I mean, and let's be honest. He was the best, dirtiest cyclist in the dirtiest sport in the world.
Yep.
Why? Quick question: why didn't they give the Tour?
Who never popped on a test? Let's remember that.
Why didn't they give the Tour de France championship to anybody else? Because the number 2 and the number 3 guy were also popped for drugs in every single race.
Yep, absolutely.
And so
why didn't he pop? He had the cancer thing going on. They were filtering his blood. They were cleaning his blood every single time he went in and had all that work done. He was clean as a baby's bottom every time he come out of that trailer.
The only way I will give him credit for even coming out and saying this, because honestly, I really don't care. The only thing that I will give him credit for is if he actually goes in and says, this is how I beat the test, this is how you clean up the sport, this is what you need to do to put rules in place to make sure people didn't do it. Like in that movie, Catch Me If You Can. You have to be in position. I mean, if he's really sorry, this is how, people beat the test. This is how I've been tested over 500 times and no one's got me once.
Yep, absolutely.
Only way I'll be impressed.
Well, outside of that, again, I go back to, I know everybody has different opinions on it, and I'm sorry if I offended anybody. I don't watch cycling. I don't care about cycling. And this guy, we all knew he was lying. We've known it for years from the minute it came out. And when we we overlooked it. We turned our back to it.
He's going to get sued.
Yeah. Oh, and everything's going to happen with it. Well, anyways, moving on. One quick note about college basketball. Huge game, folks, this weekend. Saturday, 4 o'clock. Big game. Number 1, Louisville versus number 6, Syracuse. I mean, you're looking at a national championship caliber game going on right here. You get a chance, Saturday at 4 o'clock. Going to be a great game to watch. Greg, we got to move on to the big event this Sunday. It's been completely and totally overshadowed. The AFC and the NFC Conference Championships.
Yeah,
Two teams are going to the
some
Super
football games on.
And there's a football game going on Saturday. Believe it or not, we got to talk about it. Last week, we were treated to some great football. Other than late in the game, the pounding that New England put on Houston, the other 3 games, I mean, in the second half, San Fran came alive and stuck it to Green Bay also. But, I mean, there was some good football this weekend. Real good. Moving on into this week, AFC Championship. Your Patriots, Baltimore Ravens, going to go at it again for the AFC Championship.
Well, we know, but we know Baltimore went in and they kind of beat Denver. And I thought John Fox made a big gap at the end of the game, not actually trying to go for it with 31 seconds left. And the best regular season quarterback ever. You saw Matt Ryan come in matter of seconds, gain a whole bunch of yards, and put his team in a winning position. I think Denver could easily be in this spot if John Fox coaches a little bit different, but they didn't. And now we're looking at the Ravens, who are one of the few teams in the NFL that are clearly not afraid of the Patriots.
And they're a 9-point underdog.
Which is ridiculous to me.
So let me ask you this, Greg, real quick. I want to ask you this.
Joe Flacco, big plays.
Which team has more momentum going into this game right now? And before you answer that, I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm asking you which team has more momentum going into the game. I think Baltimore, but remember this. Baltimore right now is in a similar situation that the Giants were in last year and that the Packers were in the year before. And does it have any relevance? Does it mean anything? I don't know. But this playing for Ray with all this emotion, the don't quit, the never die Flacco, the playing better than he ever has. I mean, who right now, with that said, who do you think has more momentum, Baltimore or New England?
I'll tell you what, I'm a New England fan. I really believe that Baltimore has a little bit more momentum, but I think the Patriots are running at a very high clip. End of the day, I think Patriots win. But for Baltimore, Joe Flacco has outplayed Brady the last 3 times he's played him. He just outplayed Peyton Manning. Don't get me wrong, there was a big defensive gaffe in that game, but he did make a big play at the end of the day. And he's been putting his team in spots where you kind of want to say, hey, you know what, can Joe really carry this? And then if you get Ray Rice going, plus the defense, and Ray Lewis is not where he needs to be, but he also orchestrated this big emotional push, which is what leaders do for the Ravens to get their mind right so that they can go into on the road every place they have to play, because that's how they're going to have to do it to get to the show.
Well, on paper, New England is the better team. No doubt. I mean, Baltimore had them beat last year twice. You know that. They're the better team on paper. But going into the playoffs, Baltimore's loaded, full of more confidence than New England, in my opinion. And I think that makes them very dangerous. I think
they're not afraid.
No, and they're going to go in there, and I'm telling you what. Here's the thing I'm going to say to Baltimore. If you want to beat New England, take a chapter out of the Giants' playbook. 2 different Super Bowls. What was the one thing the Giants did? They didn't beat up New England. They barely got by in both Super Bowls. But how did they win the game? Brady didn't have time to breathe. He was on his back. He couldn't get the ball to his receivers. And if Brady cannot get the ball in the hands of those receivers, they cannot win the game. You will beat them. You have to get after Brady, and Baltimore has the defense to do it.
You just need to touch Brady. You need to get him rattled. And like you said, the Giants have proven that is a formula. And the Houston Texans were knocking him around pretty good. And I'm not saying that he's gotten better staying in the pocket. and not getting rattled. But, J.J. Watt was in there a little bit, and they had some other pressure. And, he fired back that first time that they played him, on that Monday night, and they kind of blew him out. Repeat performance in the divisional playoffs. So, I still think Tom Brady gets it done. I think there's too many weapons. I think they're clicking right now.
Well,
now you got this Marine guy.
Yep.
You got Ridley. You got Hernandez. You got Lloyd.
But does his past postseason concern?
I mean,
are his past postseason games a concern to you? And what I mean by that,
they have to be for the same reason why I cited before Baltimore and Denver played. I said, look, let's look at his record. And Tom Brady has a great record, but
he's lost 3 out of the last 5 playoff games,
and he's
thrown 4 touchdowns to 5 interceptions in them losses, and he's won.
And he's played bad,
but he has won 3 out of the last 5 Super Bowls he's been in. Right. So there's something to be said about that. So who wins? Who wins?
Like I said, New England.
New England?
Yep.
Here's, like we said earlier, on paper they're supposed to.
And Ray Lewis goes home. Good job, Ray. I can't wait to see you on ESPN.
If Baltimore can stop New England's run, which they can,
right?
We know they can.
Sure.
They can contest the pass, and one of the most important things they're going to have to do at New England is cut down, way down on New England's third down conversions. Get Tom Brady off the field. Give Flacco a chance. And here's the other thing: you better figure out a way not only to sack or pressure Brady, but to fool him with your pre-snap. With his pre-snap reads. If you come up there lined up and he has an opportunity to read you, you're in trouble.
He can't know what you're going to do, and that's what the Ravens do well, though.
Yes, absolutely. On the Patriots side of that, they need to maintain finesse. They got to control the line of scrimmage, and more than anything, protect Brady. Wear down that. If you can protect Brady, he'll wear down that Baltimore defense. Because did you see Baltimore at the end? Not overtime when they got some life, but at the end of the Denver game, they were shot.
They're out of gas.
So, Patriots are a 9-point favorite. They got some injuries. Gronk's not going to play. He's out. Woodhead's still looking like he's out, which that's not a big deal. They got 2 other running backs that are playing great. You say the Patriots, and I'm going to tell you what. I think Flacco and his momentum. Tom Benwer in Plattsburgh, New York, can kill me for this. I'm rooting for your team. I really am rooting for your team. I want to see you go to the Super Bowl, but
he's going to do it to you.
But I'm telling you, I just, if you're asking me to pick, you're standing here telling me, I got to tell everybody in America who wins. I just think Baltimore's riding that same wave that the Giants and the Packers in the last 2 years have, and I think it continues. And they beat New England in New England. And go on to the Super Bowl. One more for Ray. And then there we go. So there you go. Greg's got the Patriots winning. I got Baltimore. It's
But
it's going to be a great game.
The only problem with that is how long can you really ride that emotional high?
Well, the Giants and Green Bay did it right through to winning the Super Bowl. Come on.
Yeah, but I'm talking about with Ray Lewis retiring.
Just started in the wild card game.
I know it just started, but what I'm telling you is that's going to lose some of its steam. And, I think if they make it to the Super Bowl, no problem. But I think they're not going to do that because of New England Patriots. They're going to run out of gas just a little bit too early.
For all you Patriots fans, I'm in a tough position. I almost feel as though I'm forced to root for them because my Giants aren't there. It's a family thing. I can't get past it. But I just don't see it. I'm one of them guys that goes, I like the team that's hyped. I like the team that's riding that wave of emotion. I like that team that's the underdog, and they're going to come in and they're going to do things that are just phenomenal. Well, anyways, moving on, we got to talk about the NFC Championship. We got the Falcons at home against San Fran. There's so much to be said about San Fran. It ain't funny. I've been thinking about this, Greg. How much have we talked about it this week? I can't see how Matt Ryan and that crew, at home or not, can beat San Fran right now. I just think San Fran is so loaded on offense, and their defense is stellar. What does Atlanta need to do? What's the one major thing they need to do to win this game?
Their freaking homework. That's what they need to do. Russell Wilson ran through them hot knife through butter in the last 3 quarters.
Yep.
Okay? Now, when I mean do their homework, they have to say, hey, where were we bad? Why were we not good? And from there, we need to make changes. So if they're able to repair that within the week, they might have a chance.
You know, there's some stats you and I look at once in a while that come across TV or we find somewhere, and we from time to time we go, that ain't even relevant. It shouldn't even have been brought up. One would come up the other day that said the Falcons are 4-0 against Niners, and in the last 2 times they've beaten them, it's been with Matt Ryan. I don't even think that's relevant in this case. Not because they haven't played a Kaepernick. They haven't played this offense or this defense, for that matter. I think Matt Ryan's going to see things that are going to scare him. This defense he's going to hit the ground a lot.
Yeah. Whether
he likes it or not. I know they block well for him, but it ain't going to matter this week. Harbaugh, what can he goes to the Super Bowl and wins. He's going to walk around with a big G on his chest. Genius. Looking like Superman. Look what I did. People doubted me. I wonder if he ever even questioned himself at any point in time.
No, he
prior to that decision when he was trying to make it, not afterward, because Kaepernick never gave you a chance to have to question yourself. He was good. He's been good since you put him in. But I mean, they know what they got to do to go in there and win. What is Atlanta got to do to win? I mean, really, we've looked at it and talked about it. What can they do to get past the 49ers?
They have to be good on defense, which they have an opportunity to do. But again, those wide receivers that they have on offense, they gotta beat man to man and double team coverage.
He averages little over 8.5 yards a carry.
Kaepernick, which is going to be their problem. Like I said, they got to do their homework, and they got to be able to figure out. They got to be able to figure out how to stop him.
Twice this year, the Falcons have faced a really good running quarterback in Carolina and Cam Newton. And 2 times that they faced Cam Newton this year, Greg, he's rushed 18 times for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's Cam Newton. And Cam Newton is not as fleet-footed as Kaepernick, I can tell you right now.
No, Kaepernick has a little bit more speed on him.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to tell you right now, Kaepernick's arm outduels Cam Newton or outduels 3/4 of the quarterbacks in the league right now.
Yep.
Let's say you shut him down.
He throws a nice touch pass, too. Everybody just thinks, don't get me wrong, the dude has a hose for an arm, but he's able to teardrop it in.
There's only one of them 2 things that the Falcons' defense is going to be able to stop. Only one. They cannot stop the pass and the run of Kaepernick. I think if they stop his pass, maybe you can contain him a little better on the run.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to stop that pass, though.
Oh, my God.
They're loaded with weapons.
The only thing all the research we did and the time we put into this and tried to figure out how Atlanta could win, the only thing I could come up with was Matt Ryan's 34-6 at home in his career since he became a starter. But does that hold any water in this at all?
What? He shouldn't have won. And I'm saying it. He shouldn't have won last week.
Yeah, I agree. San Fran.
They should feel no more comfortable. Everybody's talking about the monkey off their back. Matt Ryan, Mike Smith, the coach, blah, blah, blah. No. They shouldn't feel any comfort whatsoever because they backed into that win.
Well, for all you San Fran fans, you know this as well as I do. I don't need to tell you. San Fran has not won a road playoff game, Greg, in 24 years.
Yep. There's a reason for it.
I think San Fran fans are going to be real happy. I don't think the fans of San Francisco or in San Francisco care that this game is not there in Candlestick. They just want to win and to move on. If we see Kaepernick and Brady in the Super Bowl, I don't know if it can get any better. I think if it's Baltimore and Kaepernick, Baltimore's in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. So, my pick for the NFC Championship, San Fran. I can't see how they can lose unless they just go in there and completely fall apart, which I don't see that happening.
No, that's not going to happen.
That might be the not between the 2 games, the New England game is going to be the better watching, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
As far as keeping close and everything.
Do you think San Francisco will beat Atlanta by more than you think the Ravens will beat New England? Because I think New England wins by more against Baltimore than San Fran does against Atlanta.
No.
Yeah.
San Fran going to come out in the second half, do the same thing he did to Green Bay.
Surprised.
They're going to do the same thing he did to Green Bay. Because all that emotion I saw Matt Ryan show and Tony Gonzalez show.
Baltimore's going to run out of gas, man. I'm telling you.
We're going to find out. Moving on. We mentioned a little college basketball to you earlier. Greg, no unbeaten's left in college basketball. Done. We're pretty much back to an even slate, clean slate, however you want to say it. Duke lost last week.
Yep.
On Saturday. Michigan lost. I still think, as far as scoring right now, Michigan's the best team in college basketball. They can score from anywhere on the floor, and anybody, the starting five or to come off that bench, here's what makes them so good. Anybody that plays in that team scores. Now, I know somebody go, well, everybody scores. No. These guys score. And no matter what position they're in, they score.
Offensively.
That's I love college basketball. There's so much going on in it right now. We talked earlier this week, you and I, about Indiana. We were trying to figure out preseason ranking, number one. They turn around and they get beat. Then they get ranked number 2. And they turn around and lose to Wisconsin.
Wisconsin always has it.
Wisconsin's 2-0 in their conference right now. But who did that help? Florida. Florida pounded Wisconsin. The RPI, you know how that all works with the point system, helped Florida out. They beat, Wisconsin beat the number 2 team in the country. There's a lot to say about that. Florida played tonight, played A&M. Don't know the outcome of that game yet. A lot of things going on in college basketball. I told you about the big game this week, Syracuse and Louisville. There's a lot going on. And right now,
just a quick update on that Florida-Texas A&M score.
God.
Florida's killing them 64-38.
And they're riddled with injuries.
Yep.
They got one kid, Rosario, playing with pads on his ribs because he's got broken ribs. You got, your Prayfort's out, your big star. Lot to be said right there about the Florida Gators. They got a great coach, Billy Donovan. Kudos to you, Billy. Big win tonight. Another big game tonight in college basketball. Number 5, Michigan, was playing number 9, Minnesota. Another big game. 7 minutes left. Michigan's winning 69-56. Another, that game could go either way right now. So, folks, college basketball's in full swing. Conference plays going on. We're mid-January. That leaves a month and a half or a little longer, and we're into March Madness, Greg. We're into the tournament. Things are going to be moving quick.
The most exciting sports event on planet Earth. Period.
Yeah, I agree. We brought up about hockey starting. I wanted to bring some up to you, Greg. I'm sure you saw it this week. Rory McIlroy signs biggest contract for an active player with Nike. 10 years, $250 million, roughly thereabout. Wow.
That's a lot of cash. It's funny that, I think maybe they're the two. Nike has paid Tiger and Rory the most in terms of golf contracts, and they're both playing in Dubai right now, or Australia. And, they're all buddy. Tiger's been a little bit more, Tiger used to have this I don't care attitude. Now he wants to be everybody's friend. He wants to, kind of repair his image. I don't think he likes the fact that people just don't like him just because of what he did. But the bigger question is, are we gonna push this quote unquote rivalry like they tried to do with other things that didn't really have rival potential? Like Federer didn't have any rivals until Nadal came around and kind of challenged him. But again, we're talking about sports that need rivals to kind of push it. They really wanted it to be Phil and Tiger, but it was never that. And so I just hope that they're not going to try to force something just because Rory had a couple of good outings. And don't get me wrong, he's one hell of a golfer, number 1 in the world, making a ton of money. Nike obviously believes in him. But I just want to, let's see him win a couple more majors before we start throwing him in the class of all greats and calling this a rival. I think it's just the next latest golfer that's done real good. And, but if he keeps going this way, it'll be a different conversation in a couple of years.
When you're talking about an individual sport like golf, NASCAR, let me use these two for instance. You remember how many, it wasn't too many years ago, Greg, 10, 15 years ago even. Let's go back 15 years. And it was the same names you heard all the time. In golf, it was Tiger forever. You know what I mean? And it was the Westwoods and the Nicholsons and everybody else before that. NASCAR was the Dale Earnhardt Sr. and all them guys. And that's all you heard. There was a handful, Greg.
Yep.
7 or 8 that was all you ever heard about. We had this conversation not too long ago, you and I, about Tiger, in the sense that is he not as good as he was, or is everybody just better? And I think what we kind of came up with was all these kids that are up there, golf's an incredibly tough game to win a tournament in now. I don't care who you are or how long you've been around. Tiger may have made a mistake in his career. He inspired these young kids to want to be him, and they're beating him. No, they're that good.
You know what? Yes, they are that good, but they also grew up wanting to beat him. And eventually that was going to happen to him like it happens with every other athlete that reaches that type of height. But the bigger thing is, with Tiger, I think the problem with him is that he had a very, very, very fast lifestyle. And the lifestyle that he had the home part and he had the outside of home part. The outside of home part was a story to tell. When you take that away from someone, then it kind of messes with their thought of invincibility.
Yep.
It has to, because you're getting away with it. You're doing whatever you want, whenever you want it. You're the top golfer in the world. Everybody fears you. You're the man. A lot of that is mental, and I don't know if he's gotten that part of his game back. I think you see signs of it, but I also think that he's been one way for a real long time.
Yep.
And now he's learning to have to change it.
Yep.
He's smarter with his swing because he takes he takes more pressure off his body.
Yep.
But he's got to be able to do that mentally.
Consistently and mentally, yeah.
He's got to be able to take more pressure off himself mentally and not try to live up to now all these new rules. I mean, think about it. He's gone to counseling, and what's counseling about? Hey, here's your problem. Admit it. Let's learn about the problem. Let's learn about the solution. Practice the solution. When you're introducing that for maybe a number of things, that's going to take away from a lot of other stuff that you got going on, including your golf game.
Well, I brought up NASCAR, too. Look at it, how NASCAR's following suit with it. Yes, Jimmy Johnson had his run for a while, but remember, Jimmy was new to the sport within a few years when he started his run. It was the Gordons and the Earnhardts and everybody prior to that, the Wallace and all them. Look at the new kids that are in the sport. The new kids that are coming up. Keselowski jumps in the Cup race. He wins it this year. There's so many young kids in cars now. There's so many young kids. NASCAR is just like golf in my sense. And what I'm trying to say, I guess, to go out and win a tournament, you better be on your game and you better be playing well. To go out and win a NASCAR race against 42 other cars, these young kids are winning the big races. Luck, skill, owner, crew,
finance.
I mean, all that in place, it makes it tougher to win a race.
But I think that's because, I think that's the nature of the sport. And like you said, golf sort of did because more money got into it. NASCAR, a long time ago, I can't remember the exact year, but what they started doing is they started selling tickets to their shows in advance.
Yeah.
That allowed them to stack up a whole bunch of cash, let it get some interest, and start fixing up all these places, start getting into a little bit more advertising, attracting more people to it, expanding their base, getting more people in, and they had everything a little bit more buttoned up. They took it from, the beach, to corporate America. And when you do that, there's a lot of people that say, ooh, I can make money there.
Yeah.
Because I bet you right now, if this was 20 years ago, these same young guys, if you didn't grow up driving NASCAR or driving, dirt bikes and stuff like that, you weren't thinking about it. But growing up now, it's on TV, it's highly publicized.
It's just like golf.
And,
same difference.
And I will say this. The NASCAR drivers, the crew chiefs, they get it in terms of promotion. sponsorship, they understand how the game is played, and they have a squeaky clean image. And so when something does go awry, that's why NASCAR comes down on it, because they know where their bread is buttered. It can come off as a wholesome event that you can take your family to, and they don't want any of these guys screwing it up.
No, I agree, Mike. And I'll throw out right now, I'm a Kyle Busch fan. My preseason top three: Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Carl Edwards. Always running tough. We're right there last year. Carl Edwards fell off a little last year from the year before. I think he was trying too hard. You just get ready, folks. You're going to see the backflip a lot this year. Anyway, Greg, we were talking NBA earlier. We got off it a little bit. I've been wanting to talk to you about the Heat a little bit. I thought there was dissension in the ranks a little bit. I don't believe that to be true anymore. But now they're 9-9 in their last 18 road games. And Wade and the coach again a little. Here's what I'm starting to believe, that I've sat down and put some real thought into it. When you put together such a high-powered team with so many big names, I think from time to time you're going to run into bumps in the road, like every team, but different kinds of bumps in the road. I think there's a little dissension from here to there. I think there's a little, Wade used to run that team. I don't think he really has accepted wanting to take a back seat to LeBron yet. He may say he does, and he may act like he does, but I don't think he thinks that in his mind.
He can have it back anytime he wants. Anytime
LeBron would be glad to do it.
Anytime he wants to get off, LeBron can play point guard.
But they're not going to do that.
And let Wade do it. I think. Look, with the Miami Heat, I think honestly they're emotionally and they are physically exhausted. LeBron and Wade in particular. LeBron, just because of what he's been doing in terms of playing basketball, he didn't take any time off. Well, he took zero time off.
Here's what I was going to ask you tonight. One, I know one of the reasons they struggle in games, especially against teams that got big men underneath. They can't guard anybody underneath. They can't stop anyone. What else is? That's not the only thing. There's something else. What else is causing them to lose games?
Effort.
Like now.
Effort. They're not even top five. They're in the bottom five rebounding, and they have like the third worst defense in the league. That goes strictly to effort. And again, that's why I said I think they're emotionally spent. I think they're physically spent, and I also think that LeBron's been in the league 9 years. Wade's been in it for 10. Bosh has been in it for 8 or 9. They're learning how to pace themselves. Yeah. They know. I mean, they're coasting right now, and they're still top in the East.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think they don't care about Januaries and the March. I mean, in the February and the March. For them, it's like with Kobe. But Kobe, unfortunately, has to worry about right now.
Yeah.
They only have to worry about April, May, and June, winning time.
Well, also talking about the Knicks, going to London today to play Detroit. I had to travel over there. They beat Detroit up. They handled them pretty easy. Anthony had 26 points in that win. They won 102-87 this afternoon. Good win for the Knicks. Ready to get on the plane, come back here. I think the Knicks are right there, Greg. They're playing more consistent than I've seen them play in a long time, and I'm gonna credit that. Everybody goes Carmelo, and now even Stoudemire's playing good. I worried about him. You got what's his name playing really good. Slips my mind real quick. I'll get
J.R. Smith.
Yeah, and Felton's still out, but here's the thing: the credit to the Knicks, Coach Brown. Mike Brown, I'm still throwing him in as Coach of the Year, Greg. I'm still throwing him in the hat. And the top two coaches, I mean, Chandler, there's where I was trying to go. Chandler's having a good season, playing really good for us. Jason Kidd, he'll get his. But, Mike Brown is the reason the Knicks are doing so well. Mike Brown is the reason.
Yeah.
That same squad couldn't do it last year with D'Antoni.
Mike Woodson, right?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Woodson. I apologize. Mike Woodson.
And he's always been a good coach, but he's never had the tools. You look at his time when he was in Atlanta. Yeah, they had a lot of good players, but they still didn't really put it all together, and there was really no big-name player there, a go-to player, if you will. Everybody wanted Joe Johnson to be that person. Wasn't it. New Jersey or Brooklyn thinks the same thing. I think they're still wrong. But with Carmelo, hey, Carmelo will make a lot of people look good.
Averaging 30 points a game.
But what I like about the Knicks is the way they move the ball and the way no one really cares about anything other than winning the game.
Buckets.
And everyone knows their role. When you look at NBA teams and you see people who you see teams that know their roles. I mean, you think back and you look at the Lakers, you look at the Celtics, you look at Detroit Pistons. When they won their championships, everyone had their own role.
Yeah.
J.R. Smith, they're letting him do whatever he wants as long as within the flow of the game. Carmelo's passing a little bit more than he has, recently, and he's not a black hole anymore. Chandler's not looking for points.
And we don't have Camby back yet.
Chandler's looking there just so that he can block shots, be a defensive presence, and get a couple bucks every now and then. I think you guys there's a chance Rasheed Wallace is not going to come back. I think that might end up hurting you guys. He's been out since December 15th. That might be an issue down the road because he can talk, he can shoot, he knows the game, he has a high basketball IQ, and he can give you 18 minutes, and you can be happy with his production.
Well, hey, folks, just to wrap things up tonight, we covered a lot of news with you tonight. There's so much going on. I said when we started the show, a week's just too long, Greg. So much goes on. We spend so much time getting into it. By the time Thursday's here, the last couple of weeks, we've had a ton to talk about. We had to get into the championship games that are going on. Like I told you guys earlier, 2 big games on Sunday. I know they've been overshadowed a little this week, but don't worry. We're going to get into next week's show. We'll break down what went on in the conference championships, briefly touch on the Super Bowl. We won't really get heavy into the Super Bowl until the Thursday before it. You're going to hear so much about it for 2 weeks. Well,
I'm already sick of it.
We'll go a little different direction for you. We hope you enjoyed the show. A lot of things going on in the War Room. We'll let you know. A lot of things are coming up with the War Room. Website, email, Twitter, Facebook. We're going to keep you up to date on that. Please send your questions in. If you got questions right now, but we'll have our Facebook up soon. But you can go to my Facebook. Just go to Larry Benware. I'll friend you. Send me a question. We need it on the show. We want it on the show. We enjoy getting your questions. Concerns. We'll touch on your concerns. But folks, thank you for joining us tonight. We had a great show. We really appreciate you listening to us. And I said it before, a week's too long, Greg. There's so much going on. It drives me nuts. Thursday can't get here fast enough. And we spent a lot of time all week talking about stuff. I think we do 2 or 3 shows during the week without recording anything.
Just one quick tennis note. All the top seeds are winning in the Australian Open, and then we have Sharapova against Venus Williams this week. So if you're into tennis, I actually like tennis. Feel free to watch it because it's going to be a good show.
All right, folks. This is Thursday War Room signing off. And we hope you enjoy the show. We'll look forward to talking next Thursday. Have a great night. Have a good week. And enjoy your weekend.